Hi, welcome to the Lighten Up podcast. I'm here. My name is Ariana Powell with my mom and my sister, and we're welcoming you all today to talk about the light and what makes you feel just good and amazing. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and then we can get started.
Hello, I'm Sonya Powell, and welcome to our first official podcast. And we're very excited about this idea and excited to share what our plan is and kind of our goal and our journey that we're on with everybody, and invite you to be a part of it every week. Little bit about me. I am a recently published author on a book called The Story of Enlightenment, which is about finding light in the dark. And I have two master's degrees, one in organizational psychology and one in spirituality, mind, and body, both from Columbia University. And I have my beautiful daughters here with me, and we have this idea that we would like to share and try to find light in our lives. And our overall purpose and goal is to find and focus on the light and beauty and joy in our lives as much as possible in an attempt to find inner peace. And we invite you to join us on our journey, and hopefully we'll inspire you along the way. And so I'll pass the mic now.
You want to do a fun fact?
Oh, fun fact about myself, because we thought actually it might be fun to focus on or to bring up fun things. And one of the things that I thought about that's kind of silly but fun is I used to be a professional dancer a long time ago. So that's one of my fun facts. So go ahead, Ella's turn.
I'm Ella, and I am 20 years old. I go to school up in Washington State, up there at Washington State University. Go Cougs. I am studying to become a veterinarian. So my major is animal science, pre-vet. And yeah, go Cougs. um, So yeah. Oh, a fun fact about me is that I got signed to a professional modeling agency a while ago.
Hi, my name is Ariana. Like I said beforehand, I'm 22 and I live in Paris, France. It's where I go to school. I go to school at the American University of Paris, and I study history, law, and society. It's a HLS major. And my fun fact is kind of a fun fact for all of us. When I was 11, Ella was 9, and my mom was, yeah, just um, we went on a trip around the world. My whole entire family went on a trip around the world, which was just really fun. And we took a year off and we went to over 30 countries and just explored everything. It was amazing. Yeah, so
Also,
I just want to. Oh, sorry. I want to just say we are missing a mic, so we're sharing, but I think it's gonna be fine.
Also, a little group fun fact: we are actually filming, although not posting it. But this first official day of filming is on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, or happy belated Thanksgiving when you're watching this. So yeah.
Which we actually thought this would be the perfect day to start, and to introduce this idea of finding the light. And I'll just explain a little bit about what we mean by light. Um, Essentially, when we're referencing finding the light, it's focusing on the joy, the beauty, the wonder, the bliss that you have in your life. And what better day than on Thanksgiving, when everyone is really focusing on things that they're grateful for. It's interesting, like this morning I woke up and I'm laying in bed, and I do basically a meditation that is a part of my book. And I was doing that. And as I was sitting and with my eyes closed and meditating, it's like you can feel the magic in the air. I feel on holidays, like you can, it's like I honestly feel like if no one told me, I'd almost know it was Thanksgiving without even knowing. It's just, and it just goes to show, I just believe so much, and so much is energy, and the energy we bring into our lives, creates and attracts more of that similar energy. And how cool is it, well, especially in, mainly of course in America, that we have this day where everyone is really focused around being grateful and thankful. I mean, Thanksgiving, like what a great Thanksgiving, the day to be giving thanks. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And then of course that kicks off the holidays, and it kicks off the Christmas season, and the
Yay,
magic that's in the
Christmas!
air and everything. And it's just really a beautiful time. And so just moving forward, the intention of our podcast is, it actually has been brought about, and I don't know if I should, kind of jump into why we decided to do it. Um, but this is, yeah, the why we decided to do this was
I think
because
before we get into that, we
Mhm.
should do a little more backstory of like what the dark is, and like a
Right.
little more like substantial
Okay.
evidence in a sense of light and dark. Like
Sure.
what is it when you are light, and what is it when you are dark?
Okay. Right. So again, a lot of my book is about this. It's called The Story of Enlightenment, and the concept behind that is, what if enlightenment simply is finding light in everyone and everything? So in light, in meant. What if it's that simple? That's kind of the basis for it. And again, the light is obviously what I just said. It's all the joy and the happiness and the bliss and the beauty that's in our world. And the dark is basically the absence of that. And it's actually scientifically proven that the dark doesn't really exist, which I think is fascinating and I absolutely love. Dark doesn't matter. It doesn't have matter to it. In fact, what dark is darkness is simply the absence of light. And so, what's beautiful with that understanding, both on a physical and a metaphorical sense, is that as long as we, or you as an individual, are holding on to the light, the joy, the happiness, but even in a physical sense, in a scientific sense, then the dark cannot exist. And so we all have heard many times that the light is stronger than the dark. And so the concept of light versus dark, when we're mentioning that, the darkness is essentially the absence of the light, but more importantly, you can really see it and feel it when it comes to anger, um, heavy emotions, low vibrations is what a lot of people refer to it as well. But it's depression, it's anger, it's frustration, it's it's just when you're feeling really bad. It's just, that's the darkness. What we're referring to is when it comes to that, it's those really intense angry emotions that are negative, and the negative vibrations that go along with that. Light, the opposite, it's the very high vibration, the happy vibrations, the excitement, the beauty. That's light. So just so we understand, those are, as we move forward, that's what we're talking about when we are referencing dark and light.
And the main reason why we're bringing this up right now, it might seem like kind of random to start the podcast off like this, but the fact is that this is what our podcast is about. It's about bringing the light, focusing on that good feeling, the feelings of happiness, joy, laughter, all of that stuff that just makes you feel so good inside. And we use in our vocabulary, it's in our everyday vocabulary, light and dark. And we just want to have you guys be on the same page as us when we're talking about it. We're going to be explaining a lot of things on why we're making this podcast, what has inspired us to do all of this. And with that, a lot of that is tied to light and dark. So just for you guys to understand what we mean by that, and the energy around those words is really important to us. But nonetheless, I think we can kind of start. Oh,
And
sorry.
also, just kind of to explain the podcast's name, we chose Lighten Up because I feel like so many times, like in podcasts and all sorts of different types of social media, or like any shows, all this stuff, it's all very focused around drama and like the whole like the controversialness of it and the negative side of it. And it's just, it's what we're constantly putting into our brains and watching constantly every day, and it takes a toll. So we kind of thought, as a family that was very much led by our mom, that how great would it be if we kind of created a podcast where it was just light, it was just happiness, it was just fun stuff and just positivity, and talking about really insightful new philosophies that you could live your life by, and just also really fun, interesting stuff. So we chose Lighten Up, just kind of because let's lighten up the world. So yeah.
And also lighten up in just the feel when you hear that, like, lighten up. There's so much heaviness, I feel, and a lot of the podcasts and a lot of what we see on TV and the news, of course, it's just so heavy. And the reality is there is darkness in the world and there's light in the world, and there always will be. You cannot have dark without light. You can have light without dark. And the reality is where you choose to focus and what you choose to talk about and what you choose to invite into your life that you're going to experience more of. And so I just feel like, and have felt for a long time, that we just need more content and influence in our world that is prioritizing the light. um, I grew up from a very young age feeling, especially as I went into the field of psychology, that I wanted to help fix the dark. And I really felt this draw that I wanted to help fix the world and make the world a better place and find some way to make a change, and do my part in helping the world to become a better place. And throughout my process and my path and my journey into doing that, I've realized that you can't fix the dark. And the dark, in fact, when you're fixing the dark, you have to be in the dark. And so we had a lot that happened, and actually I'm going to go into, I think, a little bit, is that I think this is a good time, about our journey and what has inspired us to do this podcast. We went through, as a family, some.
Sorry, just real quick, we are kind of going to touch on some hard topics. So maybe just like a little, not necessarily a trigger warning, but just there are it there are some hard topics that we're going to talk about that may be triggering to some people. So.
Yeah, just to add to that, this is kind of a trigger warning. Our purpose for this podcast is to focus on the light, but to focus on the light, we want to explain to you guys our story and the journey that brought us to focusing on the light. Obviously, we're not just these people that are like, I'm just so much better than all this hardship in the world. Like, there was stuff that happened and we're learning from it. We learned from it. We're still learning from it. And because of that, that's something that we feel like it would be fair to share with you guys, and maybe it can help others as well. Um, and then obviously we're going to focus on the light and everything of that sort. But this is kind of the background so that you guys can understand kind of just what's been happening,
Yeah.
how to deal with
Our
it,
path.
how to, yeah, and that we're all kind of in this together sort of thing.
Yeah, so we I think there's not a person in the world that hasn't had hardship. It kind of goes with life. You have good times, you have bad times. We went through a phase as a family. I don't even know if I'd call it a phase. We went through a very difficult time, and had a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges that we were faced with. And during that time, we, as a family, were in a lot of ways desperately searching for some answers on how to navigate the difficult time. Um, my husband and I, specifically as parents, wanted to find a way to get through this difficult time. But at the same time, we were dealing with our own struggles of how to navigate a very hard and challenging situation. And while this was happening, I was grateful to be able to go deep within, and I had had some experiences. I've been a seeker for a long time, and I've spent a lot of time searching for my own inner peace and happiness um, and spirituality. And so during this very difficult time, I started to take solace and find sanctuary within myself, and really going deep in within and connecting with um, what resonated, what felt right, what felt light for me. And um, and all of us were going through and struggling in our own ways. And around that time, my husband was really starting to struggle as well. But he was really struggling and started to um, really get pulled more into being very depressed and having a lot of very challenging mental hardships, and trying to figure out how to cope with a lot of this. And during that time, I was working with him. We were working together, both of us, trying to find our way through this path and to find a path out of this. And it was just hard. It was a really hard time for all of us. Um, and ultimately, I found and took solace in the light, whereas what was happening really caused a lot of anger and frustration and upset. And it was something that my husband really was struggling with. And I was desperately trying to help him in that process, while trying to help myself and help the kids as well at the same time. And he started to go very dark at that time. And and a lot of people in that situation, and when we have hardships, it's very tempting to go dark, to get angry, to get frustrated, to be like, this is not fair, this should not be happening, and to get pulled into that intense emotions. And it almost feels like that's how you're supposed to react. Something bad happens, you get mad, you get angry. And that's more of the natural inclination, is to do that. But while he was there, and I was trying, and we were all kind of being pulled into that very dark experience, I had this realization that his darkness that he was struggling with, and I was trying to help him through, was just pulling me further into the dark. And our relationship was starting to struggle because of it. And our whole family, we were all struggling. And then I had this realization that we can't fix the dark. Like, oh my gosh, if in fixing the dark, it just keeps pulling us all into the dark, and our anger is getting more intense, and our frustrations. And it was a very difficult situation. And at that point, I realized we need to find the light. We need to focus on something, anything that can bring some joy into our lives, because there is so much beauty and joy in the world. There's hardship, but there's also a lot of beauty, and there's a lot of joy, and there's a lot of just amazing people and amazing experiences that are in this world. So I started to step back and do that, and encourage my kids and all of us to do this, because I felt like we couldn't get pulled more into this. And so as we started doing that, it felt very light, it felt very right. But at that point, it was a very difficult time, and what we had gone through had become so overwhelming. And in many ways, my husband, it was hard for him to come out of it. And he was really pulled into it, and was suffering, and had a lot of mental anguish. And ultimately, through that time, he really suffered. And in his suffering, he ended up essentially having a psychotic break. And at that point, I was at a loss on what to do. But I knew no matter what, I needed to stay in the light. And his struggles, ultimately, the darkness that he was suffering, that we all were suffering from, ultimately ended up overtaking him. And he ended up taking his life. He ended up taking his life, and he committed suicide. And more than ever, it just became so apparent of how dangerous the dark is and how easy it is to get pulled into that when something bad happens and to lose ourselves. And but the reality is there is light in the world, and there we can find it, and we need to focus on it. And our family right now, in the wake of this tragedy, are now trying to find our way through this. And I know now more than ever that with my children and what I've found throughout this tragedy that we've had to face and that we're healing from right now is that it's more important than ever right now for us and even the world, I feel, to remember that there is such beauty in the world, and there is such light, and there is such reason to live and to enjoy and celebrate our relationships and our families and what the world has to offer. And so that's where we are. um, every week we are deciding that for us to find and focus on the light and focus on the joy. And in doing that, what better message to maybe share with the world? And so this is what's inspired us then to turn and to share this with all of you, and maybe once a week to encourage you to focus also on the light and to come together and focus on what's good and what feels right. And by doing that, we can all lighten up the world and bring and remember that the light is stronger than the dark. And so that's, sorry, but that's where we are. And that's what our purpose is. And hopefully we can, once a week, you can watch our journey as we continue to grow
And
and heal
hold
from
us
this.
accountable.
Yeah.
I think that the best, I mean, it's a proven thing that when you set a goal, one of the best things to do is to tell people about it so that you have people to hold you accountable. And then you also have not necessarily that outside pressure, but you have a bit of no, I want to do this. And so that kind of also is, I think, is a big factor. Yeah, we are coming here and we standing on this platform, if you will, to share our message and share what we've been through and how we're dealing with it. But every day we're still learning and we're not perfect and we do trip up and sometimes we get pulled into the dark, and then other times we have the best day ever and are in the light for the whole time. So we are not by any means standing here and saying that we are perfect, and we've been through all of this and look at how amazing we are. No, not by any means. We're just kind of trying to be a open space, if you will.
Yeah, we're all still learning. This was our father's passing, my mom's husband, our father's passing happened um, within this year. It's November now, but it happened within this year. So this is still something that's so brand new to us, and we're learning how to move on. And part of moving on is, I mean, grieving 100% and thinking back and looking back on all those amazing memories, but also what we're doing right now, which is starting to see that light again, that beautiful, like how the world is a good place. Like you can lose someone, but it doesn't mean that your life is over. And I think that's one of the biggest things in this podcast that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how we're not going to be focusing on these hardships, but we will be kind of touching on the facts that hardships can happen. You can be going through one of the hardest times in your life, like as we speak, but there is always a way to look at the light, to see the lighter side, to lighten up, if you will. And I think it's important to know that when we're saying that, us as a family and you as a viewer, we're not trying to say just ignore it. It's not that at all. It's that honestly, it's like how you can see the world with like the glass half empty or half full. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to see the world in this beautiful light way because that's what it really is. And just because our father couldn't see that doesn't mean that we have to now continue to live a dark life. It means that, in fact, we should be living a light life for him because we know that's what he would want. And we want to spread that message to everyone. And if you are struggling with the dark in a very dark space, there is always something that can help you. People want to help you. Please reach out to your friends and family. You are so much you're so beautiful and you deserve to be here. I just want to say that. And reach out for help because it's okay. The world is a beautiful place. You don't deserve to be just surrounded by dark energy, dark thoughts. You don't deserve that. You are so much better than that. I want to say that. So, when moving on, do we want to talk about maybe the how we're coping, how we're dealing with it and
Yeah.
Well, so obviously this is a very difficult time, and you can't really necessarily just wake up the next morning and be like, okay, I'm just gonna woohoo. It is really really challenging. And so I think one of the biggest things that has really helped me get through is just having a lot of grace for myself and for other people, especially in our whole family, just having a lot of grace, which is funny because it's actually my middle name. um, but just like going easy on yourself and being like, you know what? If I don't want to get out of bed today, that's totally okay. And if I want to stay in my pajamas and hide away like I'm a bear in hibernation, then that is completely fine. And I'm completely justified to do that.
We're actually all here together for, I asked my girls to come home because they were both away in college. And we also, I have a son as well. And we've all decided to take some time off right now because of this, because I use the analogy, if you broke your leg or you broke your arm, you would be bedridden for a bit, or especially if it was a leg, or a serious injury. And this is definitely a serious injury, and you would have to heal. And if you don't take that time to properly heal, then this could be something that could affect you very negatively and hold you back for a very long time. And so that's why we're all here right now, is we're all here together healing and taking that time that we need. And basically until the new year is kind of what we're thinking of, just allowing our mental state of mind to heal and to process some of this. And so that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I think that like when you are going through a hard time or there's hardship around you, I think something that for us personally helped me is that just when you wake up in the morning, be like, okay, what's one thing I can do today that's going to make me happy? Even if it's just like a tiny little thing. Like it could be bake some cookies, paint a painting, color on I have a little coloring book on my iPad. Color on your coloring book. Go to the gym. Just like the little victories that just make things seem a lot lighter and easier. And so I think like Ariana, you have a saying, or you always quote this, you can't what's like the first step to eating a whale or something, like you can't eat a whale.
It's, yeah.
Oh, what is
What's the
it?
best way to eat a whale? One bite at a time.
Yeah. So it's just like you can't I personally have experienced that you can't just all of a sudden wake up and be like, woohoo, but like taking the little steps, taking the little victories, the little things, it really helps just to lighten up your life all the time. Like take little steps towards the light and then you look around and you're in the light already.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, exactly. Sometimes doing more than that is just too much. So it's like, just find one thing that feels really light and feels really good and makes you feel really happy. And walk in that direction.
Yeah, I definitely going off of that, just kind of being focused on the light and trying to focus on healing yourself through, or healing myself. What I'm trying to do is heal myself through all this grief and what has been hardship. Um, and one of the main things that I've been just trying to focus on is reconnecting with myself. And it's one of those things that, like, my whole world just got like earthquake shaken up. And now I'm like going through the rubble and stuff, and the rubble of what feels like my life, but it isn't, because in a way, I'm being able to replant these like beautiful seeds. And it's looking at the light and trying to focus on the good that I still have. Like, I still have my health. I'm so grateful for my health. Um, I still have my family, which is, I have a little less part of it, which hurts so much. But also, I'm so grateful that I do have, like, I still have my mom and I have my siblings. And just, we live in a beautiful house, and we live in nature and all of these beautiful things. For me, I've really started to try and be more grateful for the little things, which can kind of sound cheesy, but it is true.
Or thankful.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Bum bum. But yeah, so that's one of the things that has helped me a lot, is saying like, okay, this horrible thing happened, but I also have this, and I also have this. And like Ella said, like having grace for yourself, like really just allowing yourself to feel emotions. But even when I'm feeling horrible, I'm still grateful that I'm able to feel that way. Like if I was working a 9 to 5, I would feel kind of guilty for wanting to take time off just because I couldn't get out of bed, sort of thing. And I'm grateful that I'm able to come home and lay in bed if I want to for the whole day, because it just feels like there's this huge weight. Or, you know what, I'm feeling great. Let's go out and let's go on a hike or something. And I'm really grateful for the beautiful world that I do live in.
Yeah. The reality is no matter what your background, no matter what situation you're in, there's always something that you can find great, gratitude in. You can find some spark of joy, some spark of light. Just a walk in the park. The going on a walk on the beach, watching a sunset, watching a sunrise. Um, there's so much that we can. Nature is a wonderful bounty of joy and light that every day is just sitting out there. Hello, I'm here, offering light. The sun itself is just, it rises every day. And so
I also want to say, and I think this brings it into our next thing that we'd like to talk about. Again, this podcast is not going to be um, the traditional podcast that we're going to be having, but it's, like I said beforehand, we're laying a lot of foundations so that you guys can understand what we'll be talking about, and what just kind of the basis around it. And so one of the things that I've also been really grateful for is my mom. She is a published author, and the book that she wrote during kind of this really hard time before my father passed, has actually really helped me, and I think all of us, during this hard time after my father passed. It's been, when I talk about like connecting with myself, it's been a tool that I've been using almost every single day to help myself grow and to find a lot of meaning. And I think if we want to, we can maybe touch base on that right now, because it's
Just to kind of add a little more hyping up before the big event is My mom's book, I not to brag, I was there when she wrote it. But what I really love about it, and obviously she'll go more in depth about it, is that yeah, it's really helpful when you're going through a hard time, like really helpful. But it's also just helpful on a day-to-day basis. Like it's not
Yeah.
one of those things that's like, oh, I have to be broken in a sense to like use it. It's like, no, this is like it's it's honestly revolutionary and it will
It's an everything book.
yeah, it's an everything book. You don't have to be going through this specific hard time to have it help you. It's just honestly it's like the best little like soul inner self upkeep that you could possibly do, and it's just the best ways to start walking towards living your perfect life. So just to hype up a little more.
Wow. Wow. Thanks, girls. Well, without further ado, I will just show the book. So this is it. It's called The Story of Enlightenment.
Whoop, whoop.
And it is very short and very concise, but very packed full of so many. Yeah, it's
Enlightenment for the beginners.
it's it's some people have joked it's enlightenment for dummies, but it is very concise, and because we all don't have a lot of time, our lives are very full of a lot of amazing things happening all the time, and so I really wanted to offer something to the spirituality, if you will, narrative that's out there. There's so much out there, and oftentimes I've spent years diving into these amazing experiences and all different types of backgrounds, from mysticism just to every type of religion, and just I love it. I just can't get enough of it. But what I wanted to offer was something that's a little bit more tangible, and something that is a quick impact, and something that is different than what's out there already. And so I really think that that's what it offers. But most of all, what I love about it, and I use it, this has been the number one thing that's gotten me through everything right now. I honestly can't imagine my life without it. And it really has been the beacon of light that's kept me focused on how to get through this. And it has a tool that's really amazing. And this is a tool that it's a meditation tool. It's called the Enlightenment tool. This is what I use pretty much every morning. And we'll get into more detail later on other podcasts on
The light wasn't getting it right.
on how it works. But essentially, it's I always joke with the girls. It's like going to the gym. It's like a mental or spiritual soul gym, if you will. And it's just so you wake up and it's like 10 or 15 minutes, and it just helps you to very quickly bring your energetic vibration to a high level. And it allows you then to hold that and kind of lock it in for the day, and then go about the day. And throughout the day, you kind of check back in, like, oh, where am I at? Where am I at? And it's, yeah, it kind of gauges like where you are, and allows you to immediately understand if you are kind of slipping into those dark, depressing, confusing, upsetting, self-deprecating, oh my gosh, how mean are we to ourselves inside our own minds. It's, and we say, well, society and social media has trained us to do that, sure, whatever. But we need to change that narrative. We need to start being nice to ourselves. And the thing that I love the most about the concept around all of this, is the fact that if we're able to focus on that light and that joy and that happiness in our lives, and to hold that within, and to set that intention and that vibration every day. And I use the analogy of like changing your station to the high vibration of happiness and joy and light, then that brings inner peace. And that's, to me, what all of our purpose on life is to find and connect with our own inner peace, to know thyself and to love thyself. And the magic with that is it goes so profound on such a global level. And the simple fact is that when each of us are able to connect and find our inner peace, if we each were to do that, we would achieve world peace. It genuinely, and I truly believe, is the answer to world peace, is each person taking on their own responsibility to make that connection with themselves and to find that peace within. Imagine if every person, just imagine yourself, if you could have inner peace right now. Imagine if every person every day focused on just finding peace within themselves. All our global leaders, if they were at peace with themselves, if just our neighbors and just us were at peace with ourselves, when we find that inner peace, that's what is going to bring world peace. And so turning the focus away from helping everyone else and fixing everyone else and pleasing everyone else, that's the big one. Pleasing everyone else. If I can please everyone else and make everyone else happy, I'll be happy. Reversing that's a dead end road in a lot of ways. It's the pleasing myself, making myself happy, touching, getting in contact with who I am and loving who that is and honoring who that is. And what is my purpose here? What is my gift that I'm supposed to be offering to the world? And being confident in pursuing that and getting excited about that and supporting each other in our excitements to pursue what is our gift. And that's that's what the book does. It really helps you. It's called The Story of Enlightenment because we're all telling and living our own stories. We're all our own authors. We're all our own directors to our own story and life that we're living. And, ask yourself, in your story, are you the victim? Are you the villain? Or are you the hero? And every day, that's a question you can ask yourself. I'm going to be the hero today. There might be some things happening. And what's really interesting is you can't be a hero without hardship. And that's kind of a really profound thought because there's hardship out there in the world. It's our reaction to it. What choice are we going to make? How are we going to react to it? Are we going to be that victim? Are we going to rage and get so angry and become the villain? Or are we going to rise above it and become the hero and do what's right and do what's light?
And one thing I just want to add is that, like, my mom, she is insanely qualified to be an author, especially in the spiritual, like, category. But I wouldn't even classify the book as a spiritual book. I would classify it's more of like a self-help book because I'm not gonna lie, I'm 20. I'm not reading a lot of spiritual books. That's not really where I'm at in my life. I wouldn't really outwardly seek out all of the answers to everything. I'm more just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym today. But this book, the reason the reason that I personally completely back it, and this is totally like a TM moment, I guess.
Yeah.
Order it now at www. No, but
You need to set that up.
Honestly,
we'll let you know how to order it.
But the reason I love this book so much, and even if my mom didn't write it, I would vouch for it as much as I am right now, is that it's exactly what you said. It's like a workout for your brain. It's not like you're having to do this like in depth, like let me talk about all of my deepest trauma. It's not any of that. It's just really a switch of perspective. And just that simple switch of perspective, change of frequency, changing the channel can like make the biggest difference in your life. And it's like when you have those days where everything goes right and it's like, how is this even happening? I'm the luckiest person in the world. That's how every day becomes, because you're just changing your frequency, and the more you're giving out to the world, the more you're getting back. And
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I think that it's an amazing tool, but one of the things that I want to maybe challenge the viewers, if anyone is watching, but if you are watching, I would like
I know my mom is.
Woo!
No, Nana.
But I would like to challenge there is one of the biggest, just like one of the biggest tools that you do in the book, one of the biggest, just kind of programs that you do is so powerful and so easy. And I think we could all do it right now since it's Thanksgiving and just thinking about what we're grateful for and everything. It's finding what the author, Sonya White Powell, calls your seed of light.
Yes.
But what this is just finding a memory that is so happy, makes you feel so happy. And right now, if you pause and you do it, you will feel amazing. And if you're feeling yucky because you're feeling kind of sick or kind of down because your best friend decided to go off with her boyfriend instead of hanging out with you, sort of thing, whatever, this can completely just change your frequency and it makes you just feel amazing. And it's so easy. And that's just one of the small but such powerful things that are in this book that I wanted to say, that it's just, this is why we're doing this. This is why we're focusing on the light, because when you focus on it, it makes you feel good. It's your seed of light. It's that thing that just sits in you and just glows. And obviously, my mom can talk about it more, and we are going to talk about it more in other podcasts and stuff. But I wanted to just say this because I think it's so powerful. And being with it being Thanksgiving and everything, just having that, like, that grateful, like, looking back on these memories that everyone has. And anyways, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there to add to just what this book is about and how powerful this book is. But we are kind of running out of time. If we want to, maybe we're going to touch base just a little bit on what we're going to.
Well, now that we've kind of like laid almost like the translation of our own little language that we speak, now we're just kind of gonna, that was like a necessary for the first podcast, but or the first episode. But one thing I did want to add, because you brought up Nana, our grandma, my mom's mom. We
Hi,
are,
Nana.
Hi, Nana. No, but what I was thinking would be so fun. Recently, Ariana and I, we bought these like plain baby tees from Hobby Lobby, and we wanted to put little like we wanted to write our own little things on them, because you buy a baby tee for like $15 that has just like some random thing on it. And Ariana and I were like, we could totally make that and make them a lot more funny. But we've been trying to think of things to write on it and like to print and put on the shirts. And I was thinking, my Nana, our Nana, my mom's mom, she thinks I'm really funny. Like really funny. Every time we're on the phone or every time I go to see her, she's always like, "You're so funny. You should be a comedian." So I was thinking I should make a shirt that says,
And
"My
we're
Nana."
always like, yeah, your Nana thinks you're funny.
Yeah. So even if I don't feel funny, I'm like, well, my Nana thinks I'm funny.
Yeah.
So I think I should make a shirt saying, "My Nana
Yes.
thinks I'm funny."
Speaking of funny, actually, so we, like I said, I have 3 children and I have an amazing son who I'm going to introduce because he wants to be a little part of this as well, because he's a part of our family. And his focusing on the light, he's quite a comedian. He's a funny guy. His Nana thinks he's funny too.
Not as funny as Nana thinks I am.
Of course, no. But we thought we would maybe incorporate some jokes sometimes to lighten up. And so Goose, or he's going by Goose, he's going to tell us a joke. What do you got for us today?
What was the turkey thankful for on Thanksgiving?
What?
I don't know. What?
Vegetarians.
That's good. Nice. That's really good. Thank you, Goose. So I don't know how our timing is. I haven't
Well,
lost
speaking
track.
of turkeys,
Thanks, Goose.
here's a little fun fact, little fun animal fact. I'm full of those. Did you know that the quintessential gobble gobble like all turkeys, they don't actually make that. Only male turkeys gobble.
I did not know that.
Yeah, female turkeys cackle. I'm not gonna
Slay
hear the
queen.
I'm not gonna do an example. I was
I'm
about
like-
to do an
I was
example,
gonna-
but I'm like,
I was-
I'm not gonna do an
I even got
example.
okay.
Like-
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, like kind of almost like a.
Tell us. What's the difference between a gobble and a cackle?
No.
Let's
what
act
I'm
it out.
imagining.
Do you actually know? Can you hear it in your head?
Yeah, I can. In Mean Girls, the musical, where Gretchen Wieners doesn't get any candy canes, and she makes that bird sound like that.
yeah.
You know that's kind of
That's a
what it-
cackle?
Yeah.
And a gobble, 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 gobble.
Gobble,
I know.
gobble,
I hear the gobble,
gobble,
gobble, gobble.
So
It's
yeah.
interesting. I wonder if they only cackle in certain times because whenever I hear turkeys, like all the times I'm hanging out with them,
Yeah, all of the many
all
times
the many
you're with
times I'm hanging out with
turkeys.
turkeys, you hear gobble, gobble, gobble. You know?
Because they're all guys.
Right.
They're just guys yapping.
That's really funny. So, in our podcast, we're going to be sharing a lot of like just fun things that we've found and giving like good news, like light that just stuff that brings us light and hopefully stuff that'll bring you guys light. And so,
Like the turkeys gobbling.
yes, exactly, like the turkeys cackling, because apparently they cackle.
Only the girls.
Me and the girls cackling.
Me and the turkey girls.
But actually, speaking about freaking female power, so again, my major is history, law, and society, so like I love history. So Thanksgiving was created by a woman.
What?
Yeah, it was. She was
Not the pilgrims not the pilgrims with the hats.
no. So basically, Thanksgiving, for those of you who don't know, Thanksgiving was actually created by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War.
Okay.
And he got the idea from Sarah Josepha Hale, who for years had been pleading and petitioning to have a holiday where everyone celebrates unity and being thankful and grateful.
Not surprised.
Yeah, a
That's
woman
amazing.
created it.
That makes
And
so much sense.
Abraham Lincoln then made it a holiday to celebrate during the Civil War so that both sides can find unity. That was the whole point of it.
Love it.
And then that was during the 18th century, obviously like 1863, I think. But then in the 19th century and the 20th century, or not the 19th century, but anyways, yeah, I'm getting my dates mixed up. But that's when people actually started to talk about in like 16 something with the pilgrims
Right.
coming in and talking and coming together with the I'm forgetting
The Indians.
the
Weren't
Native
Indians
Americans.
The Native Americans.
The Native
right,
Americans.
yeah.
Well, I was forgetting the actual tribe's name.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so then we started talking about it through that. But it was actually created by Sarah Josepha Hale. That's her name, Sarah Hale. And she literally just was pleaded for months and years, saying like we as America need a holiday where we sit down and we're grateful for what we have and we come together. It's all about unity and being grateful. And it was created by a woman, and Abraham
love
Lincoln then was inspired by her idea, took her idea, brought it in to make it an actual national holiday.
How amazing is that?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But it was created by a woman. And it wasn't about it wasn't
about
really
cackling.
It wasn't about cackling, but it wasn't about like the really dark history that the Native Americans have experienced. It was more about unity, and I think that's important to kind of know during this time because a lot of people view Thanksgiving as a very dark holiday, that you're just celebrating the slaughter of the Native Americans and the tribes. But
Might not. Well, Yeah.
But no, but that's what I'm trying to say, that the actual birth of the holiday is about being grateful and
About
being
unity and bringing people
unity and
together.
bringing people together.
I think I actually always did think it was that. I always have. I never have thought of it. I think it's the past, I don't know, generations that have kind of turned it a little bit more, and focused on the fact that, yeah, the Native Americans were not treated fairly, and that is very important to be seen and understood 100%. But um but Thanksgiving was not about that. I don't think it ever was. There was definitely that factor there, and I think the fact that that was an element that was forgotten for many years, people have kind of brought it up in association with Thanksgiving, which is really unfortunate because it just needs to be brought up for other things because it is an important factor. But Thanksgiving, 100%. The intention in the beginning, I think, of course, continues to still need to be the intention for everything, for everyone, for what we're dealing with in our world today. And it'd be great if the whole world, celebrated it, and that we could all come together, um, and focus on goodness and coming together and not judging. And that's one thing I believe is one of the biggest sources of darkness, is judgment in our world. And it's something that is going to be and continues to be, for me, something that I have to work on regularly, in avoiding falling into that category or to that situation or taking that path just on a day-to-day basis when I'm talking to people. And it's like, so often we get together and conversations will go towards this very judgmental tone, or this, oh my god, did you know she did this or that or whatever, or can you believe they're doing this? And so it's fun to play this game, to play the game of, I'm going to focus on the light. I'm going to have conversations that revolve around light. I'm going to try to live a very light, happy filled life. And that's our intention. And yeah, that's what we'd like for you to join us in doing the same.
And yeah, so yeah, totally. We are approaching an hour, so we probably are gonna wrap it up quite quickly. But one thing I did want to add is I recently got a puppy, and her name is Asha. She's adorable, and it's her first Thanksgiving, and she's wearing a dress.
Yes.
So I have a little
Put a photo in.
photo, yeah.
Oh my god.
It's
That's
so
light.
cute.
Pets bring light.
It's so cute.
Light.
So yeah, she's wearing her little fancy dress. So anyway, I wanted to add that little little tidbit of funness.
And every week we are going to do a call of action to try to inspire people to bring light into the world, and joy and happiness. And this week, I thought a fun one would be, Ella actually went this morning and got us all Starbucks, and I had encouraged her to pay for the people's Starbucks that was in line behind her. Is a drive-through. Someone did it to me once, and it was the coolest thing. I was like, I went up to, drive up to the window to pay, and they're like, "Oh, the person in front of you just paid for it." And I was like, that is so cool. So we did that today. So I'm inspiring others sometime this week. Do some, I guess some people call it a random act of kindness, just something little, that just you wouldn't maybe normally do, that just kind of pushes you and expands that capacity to put good out into the world. So I challenge you to do at least one thing today, maybe, that you normally wouldn't do, that would be extra nice for somebody somewhere.
Well, with that, we want to thank you guys all for stopping by and listening to our podcast. I hope that it brought you some light. And with that, I think we're going to close it off. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
Thank you, and lots of love and light we wish all of you, and best wishes.
Lighten up.